stage, silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I couldn't know would have kept me from the one I love today. One street.
Good morning, good morning. I'm going to go ahead and say hello. Still getting everything going here. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and yes, this is One Street Over. What's going on One Street Over? From where you live in, that's what we're here to find out this morning, and we appreciate you joining us. Oh, my goodness, I was talking to my husband this morning. We're both involved with the school system out there. If you see some of the guys gathering over at Coopertown, they are working to get the buses, everything going for the guys that are going to be driving the buses and ladies that are going to be driving the buses. So they're having their professional development last few days for the bus. Because my husband, while he teaches criminal justice, he also drives a bus and drives a couple of routes because we're so shorthanded on bus drivers. So if you want to work for the school system, guys, we could use you. Teachers will be back in session. We'll be back for our professional development at our schools on Monday. And then the kids come back on Tuesday for a half day. We have a full day on Wednesday. The kids are off on Thursday because of election day. But guess what? Us teachers, we have a professional development day. I don't think I realized that. So I realized that last night and I was like, okay, summer's over, man. Ken Duley's in the house, y'all. Let me introduce y'all to my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Other than my allergies this morning a little bit, but other than that, I'm good.
That's what got us distracted is he came in and sit down and and again, I have all these people that come in that are old friends of mine and we get to chit chatting and kind of catching up. And all of a sudden I'm going, oh, I need to turn everything on so everybody can see what we're doing. Paul Rainey will be on here with us too, unless he's out chasing golf with his grandson. Paul. And, so anyway, we'll say hi to all of our Madison peeps, but we went to you're at White House Church now, but you were at Madison for years and years. And so we kind of grew up together there. I mean, how long were y'all at Madison?
We were there probably about 15 years, probably maybe.
Something like that. And you were always, that guy that looks like Robert Plant. Did you ever get that?
I do sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, with the curly hair and stuff, I remember people describing, I'm like, oh, you mean Ken? You and Roger Ferguson got that. Because Roger Ferguson had the curly hair too. Yes. You remember? I know this is inside church stuff. No, people don't know what we're talking about, but again, I know this man, and so I kind of give you that foundation to say I trust him, and we're going to talk about something that you need somebody you trust on this. Because yesterday, I had in my friend Tiffany Thompson, who is the executive director for the Senior Center here in Springfield. And right at the very end, and we probably should have spent more time talking about this, but right at the very end, we got talking about how people get scammed on stuff, especially us older folks. I mean, I'm talking about me. I'm going to be 64 in December. And so I'm going, I don't understand any of the retirement stuff. I don't understand any of the Medicare, Medicaid. I don't even know what the difference is. Have no intentions of retiring until I'm about 75. I want to put 20 years in at the school system as long as the Lord lets me stay healthy enough to where I know I'm contributing to the kiddos. That's my plan. But nonetheless, there are things that happen when it comes to how you've contributed to Social Security and all those kinds of things. And I've heard from people that you have to take Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever it is when you get a certain age. And I don't understand that because I'm still working. And when I talked to Chat GPT, it didn't indicate to me that I had to. But I need to hear it from somebody I trust. So Ken, that's what he does. How long have you been in the insurance world?
35 years now.
I was going to say, and you've highly, all kinds of awards and accolades. He knows his stuff. So when somebody has questions about health insurance particularly, do you just work with health insurance side of it?
We work with Medicare insurance in a big way, health insurance, supplemental, and life insurance.
Okay. Oh, you do life insurance. Okay. I didn't realize you did that. So, I have some questions about that too then. But, and again, if you have questions, throw them up in comments and we'll do our best to, field them for Ken. I tried to give him some of the things that I had so he was prepared to talk about some of the things that I'm concerned about. So I don't really even know where to start, but I feel like this is a really good conversation. And I know I am not the only one that has these questions because I have these conversations with my peers that are in the same age groups. So let's start here. What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? How do you explain that?
Well, Medicare, you have to have you have to be either be 65
Okay.
or you have to be on Social Security disability
Okay.
for 2 years before they would give you Medicare.
Okay.
And each Medicare program, in the Medicaid part of it is different, from state to state. And ours is called TennCare
Oh,
here,
okay.
and there's different levels of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And how I got into this in the beginning, I used to do property casualty insurance a long time ago.
Okay.
And so when my wife was actually pregnant with triplets, and then we had a really bad car accident, and she lost one of the triplets, and then she went from the bed to the wheelchair to the walker to the cane, and then the children were born. Well, my daughter spent almost 4 weeks in the hospital, and my son almost 8 weeks.
Wow.
And I had to deal with the nightmare of all of the bills and all the things that were or were not paid for and all that. And everybody else was in the hospital.
Wow.
So I kept gravitating towards this to be, I thought this is a mission. And one of my friends at church said, this could be a really good ministry to, with honesty and integrity, help these people navigate through the Medicare insurance system and the health insurance system. And so that's what I've done for the last 35 years.
Oh, wow.
And so, but those two different things, that the Medicaid, we deal with it some, but most of the time that is going to be someone that has special needs, lower income. It could be a child that got on Medicare early.
Okay, so that's
reason,
Medicaid.
Uh-huh.
Medicaid. So that's somebody that is before the age of retirement that has a special need, like they've gotten disabled or something to that degree.
Or they're lower income too.
Okay, so that would be the TennCare side of it. Okay, and that's Medicaid.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are plans though that will cater to those folks, that give them benefits. And the Medicare rules don't allow me to discuss the specifics of those particular plans.
Right.
But if people call me, they can set up a time to either meet with me in the office. And I have a team of people now. Marianne is a licensed agent that works with me, and Allegra. Both of them are licensed agents, and we had to add somebody else because we got so busy last year. We couldn't take care of all of the folks we needed to. We were asking people wanted more appointments and things, and we ran out of time. So
I knew that you just stayed covered up because I've had to call you about just questions, random stuff, and you're just let me get back to you next week. I mean, because you've just been so busy, and that is actually a testimony to the fact that you know what you're doing. And so that's why I wanted to get you in here, is because I just don't really understand it. So Medicaid is not something then that I need to be concerned with, because I'm not going on disability. I don't have any of those kinds of things.
Probably not. And
so
the question you asked me about work, and this is something that we get every day, is somebody's retiring. I mean, I have people, they'll come in the office and they'll be sweating.
Yeah.
They're so torn up about
Stressed
getting
out.
off their health insurance.
Yeah.
Well, and so what we try to do is analyze, we ask them to bring in their health insurance information and know what their deductible, their out-of-pocket maximum is, and that kind of stuff. So they can get, when they get ready to turn 65, if they still have their group insurance. And see, you don't really know if you're going to retire at 75, like you talked about.
Yeah.
Well, then it will depend on how the system is in place with your group health insurance, and if they have any group Medicare programs there
Okay.
at work in that sense. So,
Okay.
and if you still have your um, group insurance, all you have to take is A. And, if you've paid into the system, you know, uh, all these years while you've been working, A will typically be free.
Okay.
And then, the B right now is 202.90 a month.
Okay.
And that's the charge from the government. And if you will, and then what plan you get, there's plans that you can get a Medicare supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan. That's one way to insure yourself, or you can get a Medicare Advantage with a prescription drug plan, a MAPD is, and that's, you see those advertised a lot on TV, and the all-in-one type plan, that kind of thing. But that's an individual choice. But if you just have the Medicare A and your group insurance, and it's got credible drug coverage with it, then you really don't need to do anything until you retire. And if you're going to get rid of that, because sometimes people will continue to keep that. I've had people that have, over the years, I've had people that had some sort of a program where they were still on their group insurance. One person was actually 100 years old.
Wow.
And then they got on the B part, and then got a Medicare insurance plan.
Well, just if you're in the school system, there is, and I forget what the year is, but some of the teachers that I'm working with that have been in the system, they've been teaching for 30 years. When they retire, their program, they will keep their insurance. Some of them. Now, that's not, I won't. I mean, I'm starting my 5th year. And so that went away before I was hired. So just like we have a mutual friend, I'm not going to call her name out, but people who listen all the time probably know who I'm talking about. She's part of that program that she still has her insurance, even though she's retired. But so she's in a good situation in that regard. But honestly, one of the big motivations to making sure I stay employed in some capacity is because I understand the necessity of good benefits. I had friends. I had a really good friend years ago that was an independent business person. He was injured and could no longer work. And he had, his wife was a stay-at-home mom, and they were in a real dire strait. And I mean, I remember talking to them and saying, go get a job that has benefits that will allow you to bring your family into this. And they did. And it was life-changing. And I mean, people just don't understand. They stress over, having benefits. And if you're healthy and you don't have to think about it, but if an accident like you had happens, you just never know. It can really alter things in a very big way. And so having benefits in some capacity is so important, and there's so many great jobs out there you can have where you have full benefits. And so it's, to me, that is a game changer. I know we all have these things we want to do, but that's part of our world, is having good health benefits to make sure that, you're covered if something happens. But as you get older, you wonder about the limitations, because, I've had some people tell me that I will be forced to take Medicare at 65, and then my health program that I have with the schools will become my supplemental. And so are you saying that could be written into our policies at the school, or is it just depends on what the...
Typically what happens with the groups is some of the groups will say, well, when you turn 65, you can't be on our group health anymore.
Oh, really?
And others will allow that. And so but if they allow you to continue to be on the group insurance, well, then you just take the A Medicare.
Okay.
And not the B, because then you would be double paying if you did both, both of those. But once you get, if you get A and B, you can still continue to work and keep the Medicare, because, and that's where the key is. if people sit down with myself or one of the agents and they look at this, see, that's going to depend on how much money you're paying out for your premium and how much your out-of-pocket maximum is.
Okay.
Because the Medicare and a Medicare insurance plan may be your best option, or the other may be your best option.
Gotcha.
And you have to look at it and see, because you know, if you have Medicare, you have a lot more options typically than you do on the group insurance, and the out-of-pocket typically is going to be lower for a lot of folks.
Okay.
But some it's an exception,
Okay.
you know, that is different than that. And if you're going to pay, you know, and I see people pretty frequently. I mean, you know, they'll be paying. They already know when they retire they're going to be paying $400 or $500 a month for if they keep their group insurance. Well, in that case, it's probably a better choice to go to the Medicare, because then their out of pocket will be lower and their actual cost out of their pocket will be lower too.
Interesting, because I always had
premiums.
But that was one thing that I got a little bit of a taste of what to expect with my mom, because you know, she passed away a couple of years ago, and she even had cancer, and we had to navigate those waters. And she shared more with us about her finances in regards to the medical than maybe they did before my dad passed. Because my dad had an aneurysm, and he was like 73, and they flew him to Nashville. And so we just knew that was going to be one of these big, big bills. Never a penny, because they had Medicare plus they had a supplemental. They always made sure. My parents were big on insurance. They wanted to make sure that they, you know, didn't, you know, have that burden. And so they always made sure they were fully insured. Well, because I knew that they had that something that, you know, Dad never got a bill. When Dad passed, we never got any kind of a bill from Vanderbilt. It was all covered. And then the same thing with Mother, because she had a good supplemental. She, you know, she never really got any big medical bills. So I'm just kind of going, okay, what do you do with that? And I know I need to have a conversation. From what you're telling me, I need to really have a conversation before I hit 65 with my program at school in Robertson County to say, okay, what is the plan? Are y'all going to tell me that I have to take Medicare, or do I have the option? You know, what are my options? So that's the thing. So the first question, if you're still working, what I'm gathering from this, if you're still working, you need to have a conversation with who your employer is and the benefits coordinator, and say, what is the plan when I hit 65? What do you have for me to do? And then when I get that information, then I can come to you and say, okay, here's the situation. What do you advise me? Right?
Yeah.
Would that be the way to go? So there's not a blanket answer, but when you're 65, you need to pay attention, right?
Yes, definitely. And we do Medicare requires us to do what's called a scope of appointment. Okay. If we're doing something virtually or we're doing it on the phone, you have to do it, you know, that way. But like if someone comes in the office for an appointment, then we do that paper scope of appointment where they check off the things that they want to discuss.
Okay.
And we discuss that stuff with them, and it's important that they really know the choices that they have, because there's a lot of things out there in our world that try to skew them one place or another.
Yeah.
And I mean, we get these scam calls in the office. Yesterday, we got 5 or 6 of them, you know, and they're trying to tell me about all this stuff that we could get. And it's like, we tell them this is a Medicare insurance office. We're brokers, so we have pretty much every plan available with very few exceptions.
Yeah.
You know, both on the Medicare supplement side and the Medicare Advantage side too. And see what you were talking about with your parents. Yeah. Well, see, that's one way to insure yourself. Okay. And you have with the Medicare supplement and the standalone prescription drug plan, you have the original Medicare, and that pays first. And then the supplement fills in the gaps. Right. Depending on which plan you get. Right. The other one the Medicare Advantage plans, those are managed care where that insurance company basically takes over your A and B Medicare and manages it within that plan with a
Okay.
system of copays and all that. But you can get Medicare Advantage plans with or without the prescription drug coverage in them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, the older you get, you really need that. You need that prescription drug stuff, especially if you end up having cancer or something. Because I know Mother, some of the things that they wanted to prescribe to her, wow, if she hadn't had coverage, would have been outrageously expensive.
And my wife,
outrageously,
Carla, has been through
Mm-hmm.
the cancer stuff over the last 3 years, and the thing on the prescription drugs, the out of pocket and your donut hole doesn't exist anymore in that same way. They got
Mhm.
rid of that donut hole, which was about $8,000 out of pocket.
Wow.
Whereas today it's 2,100.
Okay.
And so that's still a chunk,
Yeah.
there, but there's, the prescriptions that are covered now with Medicare and on these plans, it has drastically changed.
Mhm.
Because see, I've been in the business long enough before they even had prescription drug plans
Right.
and the Medicare Advantage plans.
Mm-hmm.
And it has made a big difference.
I can imagine. Okay. Well, that's just, we're talking with Ken Duley, and he is an insurance agent that specifically, I mean, his specialty is making sure you're insured, health insurance and life insurance. I have a couple of life insurance questions for you too before we leave. Don't let me forget. I've got a couple of ads we need to do. And so we're going to start. Let me take a break real quick, and then we'll come back. And if you have any questions, be sure and post them in comments, and we'll field them with Ken just to, kind of get a better feel for those of us who are approaching that 65 marker, and the questions that we need to be asking and the things we need to be doing to make sure that we're approaching it in the right way. But we're going to pause and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. And I'm going to start with them because on Monday, we are going to have Barry come in and talk about these really cool properties that he has listed. I was telling, if you were listening yesterday, I talked a little bit about that he had a property that came up that's got a cave on it. And if anybody that knows me knows that is one of the things I always say was, we've got, 40 acres here in Springfield. And I would love to find a cave in that hillside that we own. And he's actually the guy that came out and worked with the cave that is on this property he's selling. We're going to try to get him on the air to kind of talk a little bit about that. But I want a cave and an eagle's nest, if I could just get those two things. But here's a piece of property that you can buy that's got a really cool cave in it. I mean, you can go inside it. It's really neat. But he's going to come in and talk about this property. It's between here and Orlinda. So it's a local thing. So if it's one of those things that you would love to have a property with a cave, well, they got it for you. So he's going to come in and talk about that. And he's also handling the school that, let me just read what he's got on his social media. It says the Julius Rosenwald Fund helped build 7 schools for the African-American students in Sumner County in Tennessee. Only 3 of them are still standing, and the Oak Grove School from 1925 is now for sale. How cool is that? I mean, they handle a lot of historic properties. This is a cool one. And there's not a ton of them out there. So when they pop up, it's something that you got to be super curious about. And so he's going to come in and talk about that property as well. So we've got a couple of specific things that are just really neat. And this is in Cottontown. Or no, hang on. I think this is, I'm not sure exactly of the address on this one, but maybe it's up in Cottontown. But nonetheless, it's in Sumner County. But again, he's going to come in and talk specifically about it, and I just think it's going to be a real interesting conversation. So Barry's going to be in here on Monday, and that would be another good time for you to give him your questions about buying or selling your property. If you want to be a realtor, they have Exit Prime Realty. They've been they've been part of the Exit team ever since they got started with this. When Rebecca went from radiology to real estate many, many years ago, she's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. So she's been at this a while. But she found Exit, and she's like, this is a team I want to be with, and they've continued with them in some capacity. They have their independent branch, Exit Prime, that they brought on a few years ago, and they're bringing on new realtors, just like Samuel and Brandy Hastings. And so there's a lot of folks you can work with Exit, but again, a great team. They specialize in Robertson County properties, Barry and Rebecca, because they've been here for 30 years, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because like me, they're originally from Kentucky. They can answer your questions. They are so uniquely suited to help you with his marketing background. They're going to be able to get all the things you need to make sure that your needs are met in the real estate community, whether you're buying or selling, or if you want to be a realtor. You want a historic property, you want a property with a cave, you can find out more about that. Call them at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 or 7424, and let them know that U-Turn sent you. All right, talking with Ken Duley. He is my friend, longtime friend. We've known him for a lot of years. But when it comes to the questions that I have, when it comes to, I'm going to be 64, so I've still got a year, but I'm approaching that age where people keep saying, well, you're going to have to go on Medicare. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go on Medicare. I don't feel like I need to be on Medicare. And I'm not planning on retiring until I'm 75. And I don't know, I may hit 75 and do a couple more years. I don't have any idea. Because, they say 70 is the new 50. I mean, you know that, right?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, 70 is the new 50. So let's just go with it. But nonetheless, I witnessed my parents really doing well with their insurance plans because they always made sure they crossed the T's and dotted the I's. I want to make sure I've got that coverage because it takes pressure off when you have things. We lost my dad very suddenly, but not having the burden of the huge insurance bills was a relief, because we were expecting $50,000 bill when they flew him from Paducah to Nashville. And it was, and actually that's what, the bill would have been if we hadn't had insurance, but it was paid. And it was because they were properly insured. So you need to ask these questions. Too many people put their head in the sand. They're just like, I don't know. Don't you get that? Sometimes people have just stuck their head in the sand and they don't want to, they do that with their taxes too. And it's just not the way to handle it. You've got to be proactive in this stuff.
There's so much misinformation out there too. And we deal a lot too with the under 65 plans also. Okay. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that the ACA plans.
What is ACA plans? What is that?
That's Affordable Care Act plans.
Oh, okay.
Those plans actually are not government insurance.
Right.
Okay, they're individual and family health insurance plans. They're private individual and family health insurance plans. The only part the government plays is to give them subsidy to help pay for the premium based on their age, income.
Okay.
Zip code and their age, income, zip code, and family size. And, and some people will not get subsidy if their income is high. Mm-hmm. They also won't get any if their income is really low because there's already things on the lower side. Like we have
TennCare.
Yes, right. That to pay for that stuff or the health department and that kind of thing. That's what the federal folks tell us, I guess, in that sense. But, you have those misconceptions there and you have the misconceptions in Medicare. And so I would encourage everybody to go to a professional that they can actually sit down and discuss these things. And that way they know what direction to go into. Because, I have people that will be turning 65, but their spouse is tied up with them on their group health insurance.
Right.
Well, what do they do then?
Oh, okay.
See, and then if they have pre-existing conditions, the ACA plans are usually the only thing that will cover those pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
And so we try to work with couples that way and individuals, depending on what kind of health conditions that they have also. Because that used to be when I first started in the business, you just didn't have any, coverage, to go to because they were fully medically underwritten health insurance plans.
Yeah.
And if you had pre-existing conditions, they wouldn't cover
You're
you
just
at
out of
all.
luck.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that's why I always tell people, find a program that has to take you, go work at Electrolux, get a program, find a job that has a group plan. That's what, and honestly, it's been years ago. I learned that early on. If you had pre-existing conditions, you had to look at that. Fortunately, I've been relatively healthy, but I heard stories. I would hear horror stories of people that couldn't get insured because, they had cancer early on, and I had a friend that had cancer. She's done great, but she had cancer, I think, in her 20s, and so that really affects what you can do. And so I don't know. I mean, it is one of those things that if you're navigating these waters, you need to sit down and talk to Ken. You need to call somebody that can help you with this and somebody that you can trust, because this is, I was saying, we had Tiffany in here from the senior center yesterday, and we got to talking about all these scam calls that people get. Mother, she had the best. I mean, she was so well insured. She had every T crossed, every I dotted. She got daily calls. People like you're getting
Yes.
calls to your office telling her, well, you need to do this and you need to do that and all this. And I'd say, Mom, just hang up on them because they're scammers. And they try so many ways to get into your, to your savings, and they're just sneaky. They're so sneaky. And so you've got to sit down and sit across from somebody like Ken and just say, okay, here's what I've got. What's your best advice on this? So I didn't realize I need to start with my current I need to go to, I know who to call. Because, that's one thing you mentioned too, is my husband's a year younger than me. He is, I'm approaching 64. He's approaching 63. So our birthdays are just a few days apart, but he's a year younger. So he's the primary on our insurance. I'm part of his plan. So
yes,
it will matter more for him. So with that situation, we will have the option in the fall. I could switch over and be the primary. Should I do that since I will be first to face Medicare, or should we just leave it as it is?
Yeah, I would leave it as it is for now.
Right now,
and
okay.
just look at
The
what
different
options they give you.
Okay. I'll call them and ask them, because these are just questions I've never thought to ask, and as we're getting to that age, then I need to ask them. Okay. So let me jump over to the life insurance side of it. I have a life policy that I bought years ago. And a lot of it was because when I was working down at the Blaze and I was commuting back and forth so much, because I would, going down. And I thought I need to have a good life policy just because I'm traveling just constantly, and that, something could happen. So I bought this, I guess it's a term life, and it's going to term out pretty soon. And so the only life insurance that I'm going to have is, because it's one of those that I just paid in, and then in 10 years, I think it's done, right? I think it's how it's going to be. And that should be terming out pretty soon. So with that said, I'm going to be, 64. Are there any life policies I can get that are affordable? Because at this age, I've got some life insurance through my job. But beyond that, I don't guess I have anything once this one terms out.
One thing I always recommend to people is to have life insurance outside of work, because if you lose your job, which, lots of people in Robertson County lose their jobs, because maybe they can't come back to work because of a disability or something happens. And then when their job ends, that life insurance ends. And because of the pre-existing, they have a really rough time getting life insurance at all.
Right.
Well, and so when you get a term life policy, usually, and this is something that I run into a lot with people, they're around our age, in their 60s. They bought a 20-year term, 25-year term, 10-year term, whatever it is in those ages, but it's not convertible to anything to protect their insurability, if you will, where they can convert it to something permanent.
Yeah.
And then also because of, some people are buying houses, or their mortgage goes into their 70s and maybe into their 80s. Well, what if the spouse dies and leaves the other one, with
Yeah,
that
with a
debt.
mortgage that they can't
So
handle. Yeah.
there are lots of companies that we have because we're brokers, that will, um, you know, do life insurance, but you have to be healthy enough to qualify for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have ones like that are for final expense.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, on the final expense side, you have some that are guaranteed issue where there's no health questions. And then you have others where they're medically underwritten, for that will give you a lower rate than those other ones that are guaranteed issue.
Right. So it's just again another one that you just need to
Mhm.
sit down and look at your options.
Yes.
Because I
Uh-huh.
don't have any pre-existing conditions. I'm healthy, so I would think that I would be one of the easier ones. But I'm in my that I was the guys that come in and talk to you about insurance at schools, at our school, because we have them come in because you have your every year they come in and talk to you about your benefits, in the
Mhm.
fall usually. And because that's the time when you can change it. Well, that's always a question. The last couple of years, he's like, you're getting at that age where you're not going to be able to get anything else. And I'm like, shut up, stop it. But I do know I have this policy that is about. It's got to be about to term out because I got it, when I was doing that commute, and and again, I don't really have a relationship with the people who I got it from at that time, and so I'd rather. So I could get those policies and bring them to you and say, hey, what would you do with this? You could
Yes.
evaluate
Uh-huh.
something that I have currently.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
And I mean, we have a local office in Robertson County,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're up in White House, but
Uh-huh. I'm on the Robertson County side there. And,
okay.
and I'm right next door to the Colorado Grill there. And
Oh, we love
know.
Colorado Grill.
so,
So I
uh,
didn't know you were right there next
yeah.
door to them. Okay. Okay. Well, very good. And so you can reach out and I tell you what, let me go ahead and do my other ad and then we come back. Let's talk specifically about how to get in touch with you, what your hours are, and those kinds of things. Let's make sure and we answer those questions before we run out of time. And because, like I said, Kid and I can just sit here and talk. But, and that's one thing too. You mentioned when we first started talking about the trauma from the car accident, and I never realized that about y'all. Because I guess that happened before y'all came to Madison.
yes,
And I didn't realize that.
that was back in the early 19.
Okay. Yeah, see, I never
90s.
realized that y'all had that in your
Yeah.
journey. Wow. But because I have twins, but I never realized that y'all had originally had triplets. That is amazing. I never knew that in your story. There's things you learn about people that you've known for so long, when you just sit down and have a conversation. But nonetheless, let's talk about Valor Mortgage, you guys. The other side to the mortgage question is how much can you qualify for? If you're wanting to buy a home, if you're wanting to do some investment properties, anything like that, number one is unless you got cash in your hand, what can you get? What will the bank allow you? What will they work with you on? I had a friend of mine. They decided they wanted to build their dream home and they built it. And I think they got some poor advice on the front end about what they could really handle in their budget. And it was just too much. And they got their dream home built, moved into it, and they're like, we got to sell this and downsize. You don't want to have that happen to you. That number one, they were super smart to realize that as early as they did, say, hey, pause on this and let's do something different. But if they had gotten good advice from a good mortgage lender on the front end, they could have avoided that. That's what Chris Armtrout and the experienced loan officers at Valor work so hard to do, to make sure that you don't get in over your head, that you can handle what your budget can handle, that you can meet your goals and do all the things that you want to do with all the different options they have. They have VA loans, they have FHA loans, conventional, jumbo financing, all the tools to get you to the closing table, no matter what it is that you're looking to do. If it's your first home, you're wanting to invest in your future, or you're wanting to do some refinancing. Brian Pooley will be in here tomorrow, and I'm going to make him tell the story about how Chris took care of his refi effortlessly right about the time of COVID, saved him a lot of money on his mortgage. And he goes, I didn't have to do hardly anything. He goes, I just signed some papers. Chris took care of every bit of it. And when you have a local team that's working with you, that's the kind of service and that's the kind of customer service that you're going to get. So the first thing to do is to give them a call. Find out what you're pre-approved for. Give them a call at 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or go to valor.mortgage. Get pre-approved today, and you won't be treated like a number. You are going to be working with local folks that will know you. They're your neighbors. They have an office in downtown, but make sure and call and get an appointment, because a lot of times they'll come to your home and meet with you, and so they're out and about a lot. But they do have an office just a couple of doors down from our wonderful new theater, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. You deserve working with your neighbors. So buy with confidence, buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice. Not a commitment to lend. And let them know U-Turn sent you. Back to Ken Duley, my friend. And what is the name of your insurance company? I mean, if they wanted to look you up, do they just look up Ken Duley? Or
they can look up Ken Duley Health Markets Insurance Agency.
Okay.
And I'm a broker through them. Okay.
Health Markets Insurance Agency. But if they go Ken Duley Insurance, they're going to find you.
Yes, they would find me under there.
Yeah, because I've done it that way. I've looked him up. So, because I see your billboards and things around, I'm like, I know him. And I get a kick out of your billboards. I'm like, hey, there he is. But anyway, great marketing there. I like that. But nonetheless, Ken's the one that I'm going to sit down with and I'm going to talk to when it comes to my insurance questions. That's just the bottom line. I haven't made the appointment. It's like you and Aaron Slate's the one that I keep saying, I got to get on. Aaron's a financial advisor. And I want to take all my stuff and go, okay, what do I do, Aaron? Because I mean, this is that age where you start going, I don't know what to do, because you have Social Security questions and all those kinds of things about, when do you take this and how much can you make and still get some of your Social Security benefits? And it's just like, you need a good advisor. So on these things.
And those financial advisors, they need to be able to tell you how much money you can pull out if you're trying to get subsidy on the marketplace.
Yeah.
Because you've got pre-existing.
Yeah.
And the one spouse is already retired, or both people are going to retire.
Yeah.
Because that runs into some challenges financially for them. But most of the financial advisors in the area will be able to tell their customers that.
Yeah.
And, the phone number that we have, 615-944-7868, if they call me.
Say it again, because we do it twice on radio.
Yeah, it's 615-944-7868.
Okay.
And we can, talk about Medicare, talk about health insurance, life insurance, supplemental insurance, and help you in a big way.
Okay. Well, and that's the big thing is not putting it off. Get your head out of the sand. And if you're like myself and you're getting to that age where you've got questions. And again, I just needed clarification of what's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. What's the difference? Because we had a situation back, I don't know if you remember, this has been years ago, that my husband, because he's had his hips replaced. Well, one of them 3 times and all 2 times, because the first time he had his hip replacement, they collapsed. And it was just a nightmare mess. The doctor who did it, just don't even want to talk about it. But he was literally disabled for a year from this hip debacle. Well, we did not know that he could get on, and it saved us financially, that he could get temporary disability, right, because of that. And so, and he was able to get some financial help. And this is, again, years and years ago, but we started getting stuff from Medicaid and some of that. And, and there were some things that came up with all of that, or it may have been, I guess it was Medicaid instead of Medicare that we were getting paperwork from, right? I guess
Probably
on
so.
that. So, but nonetheless, we had all kinds of things that we were getting that we didn't understand. And I should have come to you and said, okay, what do I do with this part of it? Because I don't think we would have never even gotten that paperwork had it not. Because I mean, he was, it's been at least 10 plus years ago that all that happened. So, it's been a while. And so we had questions that came up from that. So if you're somebody that has a temporary disability, you're going to start getting bombarded with this paperwork, and you're going to be like, I don't even know what to do with it. So I didn't realize at the time I could have come to you and you could have helped me just kind of discern what all this was about. Because we got stuff from them for years. And, finally it quit, because we were only on it very temporarily. It was just one of those things that it was what they call it, temporary disability. And so it was not something that we, continued with, but we got all kinds of letters and stuff about it that were so confusing. So do you get people like that come in and say, hey, what is this?
We do. We try to help them with that. And a lot of times that type of disability and stuff, people have short-term disability at work.
Short-term. That's what I was going to call it.
Or
That's what it was.
Disability at work.
It was a short-term thing.
Yeah. They'll be on their short-term disability from work, and then, and then they get better.
Mm-hmm.
And then they either go on full disability later on if it doesn't get better.
Right.
But that usually takes time.
Yeah. But it's just, again, these are all waters that you have to navigate. And if you don't have somebody advising you, it can really get cumbersome very, very quickly and get very, very confusing. But anything that we're missing that you want to cover about what you're doing at your office? Because I think we've answered my key questions. Number one, I need to talk to my employer.
One of the things that comes up pretty frequently, they want to know how much it costs.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, and the answer is, the insurance companies pay us when we write a policy through them,
mm-hmm.
but we advise people free, on this stuff.
Okay.
People will call in, say about health insurance. And well, if my husband, my wife, they're getting ready to retire because they can't physically work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do we do about our health insurance? Can
mm-hmm.
you help me with that? And, then, we look at their income.
Mm-hmm.
We look at what they can get with that income. And then, when the open enrollment comes for the health insurance, which is November 1st through December the 15th, and it may be through January the 15th, they're still deciding on that part of it. And then on the Medicare side of it for insurance, it's October the 15th through December the 7th.
Okay.
For the annual enrollment period for that, where you can change your plan and
open enrollment. That was the phrase I was trying to come up with earlier.
Uh-huh.
I was like, what is it called? It's open enrollment. Okay.
But we run into these scenarios, and we're always willing to talk with people because people can't make a decision to move forward
mm-hmm.
with their lives a lot of times financially until they get these questions answered.
Right.
And we usually can give them the answers so they can say, okay, I can't retire now, but I can do it then. Okay. And I'm good with that. Or, they need to go ahead and, well, this is what it's going to cost to do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they can go ahead and do it.
Well, and when you talk about the cost, that's one of the things we fortunately at the school systems, part of our compensation is that they pay a lot of our insurance. I mean, they pay,
mm-hmm.
and it is a good plan. Now, our out of pocket's rather high. Our maximum out of pocket, in my opinion, it's higher than what I would think it would be with what's considered to be. That's having been, in the workforce as long as I have been and seeing what the out of pockets are versus what they used to be. It's astronomical. It's just unbelievable. It really is. Even when you have a good policy, your out of pocket is still so high. Maximum out of pocket, in my opinion. But nonetheless, my brother who farms and they have to buy all their insurance, what they have to pay for insurance and their maximum out is insane, when it comes to those kinds of things. So there's so much of it. So when I think about something you said about Medicare sometimes might be the more affordable option, I didn't realize that. I just assumed it was going to be something that would be more expensive. But, listening to you, it might be that it would be cheaper for us to be on Medicare and then have the school's insurance be our supplemental. But then we would still have to, even though it would be supplemental, before it would really kick in well, we would still have to pay the maximum out of pocket, right?
Well, if you
still have to meet all those.
It depends. If you just keep the A, and then let the group insurance fill in what the B would do, if you will, but you still have those parameters of the health insurance, that you have to deal with in that sense. And so when you look at the costs there, and each employer out there is going to pay at least 50% of the premium.
Right.
It's where the base premium is, and how many family members you have on it. If they're younger, they still have kids or whatever, because that's where we run into challenges where, for the spouse and the children, it's an extra $1,500 a month.
Oh, geez.
But their income is fairly low.
Yeah.
And so it's better for that person to stay on their group. And I'm talking about under 65 on those. And then you put the others on the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then on the Medicare side of it, they have to look at the overall cost, including your out-of-pocket maximum, and then make those comparisons to Medicare.
Mm. I tell you, it's one of those things. It can get so complicated and a lot of questions, and it's something that if you don't have insurance, guys, you really need to sit down and talk to Ken and figure it out, because you're gambling. If you're out there, you're really gambling.
Yeah, there's no reason
to,
there's just no reason to, risk your personal finances.
Yes.
For, a potential health problem, and the potential for people, if you look at the statistics, go into any of the AI programs and look, with the chances of men and women, children getting cancer, it is phenomenal. I mean, just percentage that a person would get cancer in this day and time.
Well, and I think a lot of that comes down to, a lot of people talk about the environmental and all that, but I think too, we're just living longer. I mean, we really are, we're living longer, because if you look at age expectancies, my grandparents, I never knew my paternal grandparents. They both, my grandmother died at 63 of a heart attack, and my grandfather, something where I'm not sure what, but and he was in his 50s, but it just, they can do so much for us. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know, but nonetheless, and I've had so many friends that have dealt with cancer that it's been just a chronic thing they have to live with, and they live very long, wonderful lives. So it's one of those things that we do have a lot of things that we have to navigate, but they can navigate them, and so, but it's extremely expensive. It's very expensive to have the treatment.
The thing that I've learned from my wife's cancer stuff, and we had, a doctor at MD Anderson also, along with Tennessee Oncology. And the thing is, cancer is very individual. It affects people. Yeah. You can have the same type of cancer and it'll affect life expectancy completely different from the other person.
Right.
And it's just the way it metastasizes in the body.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's different.
But there are lots and lots of things, to help people medically now that never existed before. So,
but you need proper insurance to make sure you can navigate those waters. That's the big thing. And that's the bottom line from this. If you don't have insurance, get somebody to insure you. I know, I wish the days of when I grew up and we had the family doctor that was there in town and you just paid them, those days are over. This is what we have, and this is what we navigate. And so you got to deal with it. So get a hold of Ken. Talk to him if you don't have insurance, because he can take care of you no matter what your age might be. But if you've got those questions, I see so much in your advertising about the Medicare question. And that's why I knew that you're the one that I needed to talk to, because my first step, like I said, is find out what the situation is based upon my employment, what their plans are, what their expectations are when I hit 65. And that's where I start, right?
Yes.
And then also too,
Absolutely.
If you've got some life insurance policies that, like mine, I think are about to term out. Mine particularly is about to term out. And then I've got one that my husband has. I don't really understand it. We've been paying into it for years, but it's kind of an investment thing. I would love to have somebody that understands it really look at it, because I've not been able to get really straight answers from those who sold it to me. And so I have some questions.
A lot of times when you buy term insurance at a younger age, those people may not be brokers like we are, and they're with one company. They've left the business, and it's hard to get a hold of somebody that will tell you genuinely what you have. Well, you need to know some very specific things about those life insurance plans, whether they can be converted to something else, you know, and you may be approaching 65. I have people in all sorts of income levels, and I have people, that had their house paid for by the time they're 50 or 60. And then you have others that are still paying for it in their 80s.
Yeah.
And they need to know where they are, because good life insurance is bought with good health.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do, is look at what they've got now, see if it's how long it's going to last.
Right.
And I ran into a situation when my dad passed away about 15 years, and my dad had all these life policies, and Ken said, "You're in the business. Look at these things for us."
Yeah.
And so we had to look at all of this, see if there was any terms, see if there was permanent insurance and all this. And one of them had annually renewable term after the 10-year term ended.
Oh.
And it was expensive after that. Well, Dad was not doing well. And my sister said, "Well, what do you think, Ken?" And this was a big chunk of money for Mom if he didn't live much longer. Well, ended up the premium that year was like $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, did they have the money?" And she said, "Well, yeah, that's fine." But then I said, when you look to the next year, I said, it's $13,000 to keep it one more year. And he would have been, I guess he'd have been 85 years of age at that time.
Wow.
And so I said, we'll have to talk again.
Yeah.
But within 6 months, he passed away, and Mom got that by us making a decision.
It was a tough decision, but you had to look at it. Wow.
And Mom is 95 now, still able to help her.
Yeah.
For a decision we made 15 years ago.
That's amazing. See, and you just got to be proactive, guys. You've got to be proactive. You got to look at this. You got to get your papers together. Go and talk to Ken. Tell him your number again and the best way to get a hold of you in these last couple of minutes. We got Lee Marie coming in for another full hour with the Go Show of the local programming. Go right ahead.
We are. I'm a broker for Health Markets Insurance Agency. So if you go online, Ken Duley, Health Markets Insurance Agency, you can find us there. Also on Facebook, and we are at 2747 US 31W in White House, Tennessee, in Robertson County, right next door to the Colorado Grill. And my phone number is 615-944-7868.
Do it
one more time.
Yeah.
615-944-7868. 6'8".
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. This has been so informative. And I knew I needed to sit down and talk to you. And I love that I got to just do it on radio. So y'all got the benefit. I know what I need to do. I got to get my insurance stuff together. I got to talk to my employer, and then I'll make an appointment. How's that sound? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too.
Good to have you guys with us. Stay tuned. We've got Lee Marie coming up with another full hour of the local programming, and the Go Show's coming up right here next. And tomorrow we got Brian Pulley coming in. We're going to be hearing from him from the hospital up here, TriStar Northcrest. They're going to be in talking to us. And so it's going to be a great day. I hope you'll be a part of it. Stay tuned for Lee Marie and the Go Show. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day.